Stop chasing the sign. Start watching the pattern. Because if your soulmate is real, they're not just coming soon. They've been testing your heart before they make a big move. And yes, it's happening right now. Before we go deeper, subscribe, like, and comment, "I'm ready," so you lock in this message. Because later in this video, I'm going to reveal the one test almost everyone fails, and it's the exact reason a soulmate connection gets delayed for months, even years. Stay with me, because the ending is going to hit you like a mirror. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Your soulmate doesn't just appear when you're lonely. They appear when your heart is safe to enter. And before they step in fully, they test the door. Not to play games, not to manipulate you, but to see if you're still bleeding from the last person. Because a soulmate doesn't want your attention, they want your heart. Emotional stability. And I need you to hear this clearly. A soulmate is not only a romantic gift. A soulmate is a spiritual assignment. That's why God doesn't send them while you're still addicted to chaos. That's why heaven delays what you keep trying to force. The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. So when your soulmate tests your heart, they're not being cold, they're being careful. Let me explain the first test, and it's going to sting a little. Your soulmate tests how you react when you don't get instant reassurance. They will pull back slightly, not to punish you, not to confuse you, but to watch what your nervous system does. Do you spiral? Do you overtext? Do you assume rejection? Do you create a whole story in your head that they hate you? Or do you stay calm? Do you remain grounded? Kind, without begging? Because listen, your soulmate is looking for someone they can build with, not someone they have to emotionally babysit. And if you've been through abandonment, you might not realize this, but sometimes your biggest enemy isn't them, it's your panic. That's why the testing feels personal, because it hits the part of you that still feels unchosen. Now here's the second test, and this one is sneaky. Your soulmate tests whether you can love without controlling. They will not let you define them too early. They won't rush to label. They won't hand you the whole blueprint in the first week. And if you're used to toxic love, you'll interpret that as they're not serious. But if you're emotionally mature, you'll recognize it as wisdom. Because real love is not rushed. Real love is revealed. They want to see if you can hold the connection without gripping it like a hostage. Because the truth is, some people don't want love, they want certainty. And certainty is not the same thing as intimacy. A soulmate can feel you trying to control the outcome. They can feel you trying to secure them with pressure. And when they feel that, they pause. Not because they don't like you, but because they don't want to enter a relationship where they'll be managed instead of loved. Now let's talk about the third test. This one is spiritual and psychological at the same time. Your soulmate tests whether you're still emotionally loyal to your past. And no, I don't mean you still talk to your ex. I mean, do you still carry the pain like a personality? Do you still talk like someone who expects betrayal? Do you still act like love always leaves? Do you still believe you have to suffer to be chosen? Because if you do, you will bleed on the person God is sending to you, heal you. And your soulmate can sense that. They can sense when your heart is still living. So they test you. They bring up deep topics. They ask questions that seem random. They watch how you describe your past relationships. And here's what they're really asking. Are you healed enough to meet me without punishing me? Because a soulmate is not here to pay the debt of your last heartbreak. And I know that hurts. But it's also freeing. Because it means the love coming is clean. It's not supposed to be a battlefield. Now the fourth test, and this one is where a lot of people get triggered. Your soulmate tests your ego. They will not worship you. They will not chase you the way a broken person would. They won't treat you like a prize. They will treat you like a person. And if you're used to attention, you might feel unseen. But if you're used to depth, peace. Because a soulmate isn't obsessed with you. They're aligned with you, and alignment is quieter than obsession. Obsession is loud. Obsession is dramatic. Obsession is constant texting, constant jealousy, constant highs and lows. Alignment is calm. Alignment is steady. Alignment is a love that doesn't need to prove itself every hour. So your soulmate tests your ego by not feeding it. And if you can't handle that, you'll mistake peace for boredom, and you'll walk away from the very thing you prayed for. Let me say something heavy. Some of you are not scared of being hurt. You're scared of being loved correctly, because correct love exposes your wounds. Correct love reveals how anxious you've been. Correct love shows you how much you've normalized emotional struggle. So when a soulmate comes, it feels unfamiliar, and the unfamiliar can feel unsafe. Good. That's why the testing is necessary. Now, here's the fifth test, and this is the one that separates spiritual connections from emotional addictions. Your soulmate tests whether you can communicate without fear. They will say something honest, not cruel, not disrespectful, just honest. And they will watch how you respond. Do you shut down? Do you punish them with silence? Do you become sarcastic? Do you get defensive and turn it into a fight? Or do you stay open? Do you ask questions? Do you listen without turning it into war? Because your soulmate is not trying to win arguments. They're trying to build trust. And trust is built in uncomfortable conversations, not in butterflies, not in compliments, not in good morning texts. Trust is built when your heart gets challenged and you don't become a different person. Now let's talk about what the big move actually is. Because a lot of you think the big move is them finally texting you back, or finally choosing you, or finally committing. But the big move is deeper than that. The big move is when they stop observing and they start investing. It's when they go from "I like you" to "I'm building a future with you." And that step is sacred. Because once a soulmate invests, they don't do halfway. They don't play. They don't casually attach. So before they make that move, they test the foundation. Let me tell you how to know you're being tested and not being played. This is important because not everyone who pulls away is your soulmate. Some people are just emotionally unavailable. So here's the difference. A soulmate tests with purpose. A player tests with selfishness. A soulmate will still show respect. A soulmate will still show consistency. Show emotional responsibility. Even when they pull back, they don't disappear. Even when they slow down, they don't become cruel. They don't make you beg. They don't enjoy your confusion. They don't flirt with your insecurity. They just observe. And then they return with more clarity. That's the sign. Now I'm going to say something that might shock you. Sometimes your soulmate tests your heart by making you wait. Because waiting reveals what you worship. Do you worship love? Or do you worship control? Do you worship God's timing? Or do you worship your own anxiety? Because if you can't wait without panicking, you're not ready for a stable relationship. You're ready for a dopamine hit, and your soulmate knows that. So they watch how you act when you don't have full access to them. They watch how you treat them when you feel uncertain. Whether you still respect them, or whether you start acting entitled. And this is where many people fail. They fail because they start demanding proof. They start demanding timelines. They start demanding constant reassurance. Reassurance is not wrong, but addiction to reassurance is dangerous. Because addiction turns love into a job. And no soulmate wants to be hired. They want to be chosen. Now let's go even deeper. Your soulmate is also testing your relationship with yourself. Because your relationship with yourself is what you bring into the relationship with them. If you hate yourself, you will interpret love as suspicious. If you don't trust yourself, you will constantly fear they will leave. If you don't respect yourself, you will tolerate crumbs and call it fate. So your soulmate tests you by watching your boundaries. Do you say yes when you mean no? You overgive to earn love. Do you shrink to keep someone interested? Or do you remain whole? Do you stay honest? Do you stay aligned with your values? Because a soulmate doesn't want a version of you that's performing. They want the real you. And the real you has standards. The real you has self-respect. The real you has peace. Now here comes the mini cliffhanger I promised earlier. Because there is one test that almost everybody fails. Even the smartest people. Even the most spiritual people. Even the people who pray every day. and it's this. Your soulmate tests whether you can receive love without trying to prove you deserve it. Let that sink in, because some of you have been in survival mode for so long that when love comes, you start auditioning. You start over-explaining. Because if you're performing, they don't know who they're actually choosing. So they test you by staying still. They don't give you a million compliments. They don't flood you with words. They don't overpromise. They just show up, and they watch if you can relax. Because a soulmate wants to love you, not watch you compete for love. And here's the painful part. Some of you don't know how to receive love. You only know how to earn it. And that's not love. That's labor. God did not design your soulmate connection to feel like a job interview. So if you're being tested right now, don't panic. Don't overthink every message. Don't stalk their social media. Don't try to force a conversation that hasn't ripened. Instead, pass the test. How? By staying soft, by staying wise, by staying prayerful, by staying emotionally clean, by closing it, but by protecting it from fear. Let me give you a real example. A soulmate might take longer to respond one day, and you feel that old wound rise up, that voice that says, "Here we go again." The test is not whether they text back fast. The test is whether you abandon yourself in the waiting. Do you become small? Do you become anxious? Do you become suspicious? Or do you stay grounded and say, "I am safe. I am not chasing"? That's passing the test. Another example, they might ask for space, not to leave you, but to think, to process, to plan. And your trauma might scream, they're losing interest. But the test is, can you respect space without punishing them? Can you love someone without hovering? Because hovering is not devotion. Hovering is fear dressed up as love. Now listen carefully. If your soulmate is testing your heart, it's because they are preparing to choose you. But they need to know something first. They need to know that when life gets hard, you won't turn love into war. They need to know that when you're triggered, you won't become cruel. They need to know that when you feel insecure, you won't try to control them. They need to know that when you're scared, you will communicate, not manipulate. The big move is commitment. And commitment is spiritual. It's two souls agreeing to grow, not just two bodies agreeing to be together. Now I want to speak to the person who feels confused right now. You feel the connection. You feel the pull. You feel like this person is different, but you also feel like they're holding back. And you're asking God, why would you show me something and not give it to me yet? Here's why. Because God doesn't just give gifts, He prepares vessels. And your soulmate is a vessel, and so are you. And if either of you is still leaking fear, the blessing spills. So God allows the testing, not to torture you, but to refine you. And sometimes the test isn't about them. Sometimes the test is about you. Can you trust God even when you don't have clarity? Can you stay faithful even when you don't have certainty? Can you keep your heart clean even when you're tempted to assume the worst? That is spiritual maturity. And spiritual maturity is what attracts soulmate love. Not beauty, not money, not a perfect body, not a perfect personality. Maturity. Now I'm going to say something that might set you free. If they are your soulmate, you don't have to chase them. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to compete. You don't have to prove. Your soulmate will move towards you when your heart becomes safe. And safety is not just about loyalty. It's about emotional safety. It's about peace. It's about knowing that if they come closer, they won't be punished for your past. And if you want them to make the big move, you have to pass the heart tests. So let me give you the final key, the one thing that makes your soulmate stop testing and start building. It's this. You are not perfection. Consistency. They need to see that your love is stable, that your mood doesn't swing with every message, that your respect doesn't disappear when you feel insecure, that your kindness doesn't depend on being chosen, Because anyone can be sweet when they're getting what they want. But a soulmate is watching who you are when you're uncertain. They're watching how you handle tension. They're watching how you handle silence. They're watching how you handle your own emotions. And if you pass, they make the move. They start calling you more. They start planning. They start integrating you into their life. They start speaking in we, not because you pressured them, not because you chased them, but because they felt safe. Now let me speak directly to your spirit. If you've been feeling tested, if you've been feeling stretched, if you've been feeling like your patience is being attacked, it might not be a rejection. It might be preparation. Because the closer the blessing gets, the more your old self panics. And your soulmate is not only testing you, life is testing you. God is testing you, not to fail you, but to upgrade you. So today, stop overreacting. Stop assuming. Stop chasing. Stop trying to read their mind. Instead, guard your heart. Stay prayerful. Stay grounded. Stay honest. And if they are meant for you, they will make the big move. Not in confusion, not in games, but in clarity. And if they don't, then they were never your soulmate. They were your lesson. And God does not waste lessons. So comment, I'm ready, if you're choosing emotional maturity. Subscribe if you want more psychology and spiritual truth like this. And if you're in the middle of a soulmate test right now, remember this. The test is not about whether they love you. The test is about whether you can love without fear controlling you. Because the right person doesn't just enter your life, they enter your peace. And your peace is the door. If this is speaking to you right now, type "I will not panic" in the comments. Because the moment you stop panicking, your soulmate starts moving differently. And listen, I need you to catch this. A lot of you are not being tested because you're unlovable. You're being tested because you're powerful. And powerful hearts are not given to casual people. Powerful hearts are not handed to inconsistent hands. Powerful hearts are protected by God. So if you feel like this connection is taking longer than expected, comment, "God is protecting me," if you understand what I'm saying. Now let's talk about the test that happens right before the big move. This is the final level. This is where the energy shifts. And this is where most people sabotage the blessing. Your soulmate tests whether you can stay loving, even when you feel misunderstood. Because real relationships are not built on perfect communication. They're built on repair. They're built on humility. They're built on the ability to come back together after tension. So your soulmate might misunderstand you once. They might take something the wrong way. They might go quiet for a moment. They might need time to process. And your trauma will try to convince you, this is it. It's over. They don't get me. But the test is, can you stay emotionally mature while your feelings are loud? If you're in this stage right now, comment, "I choose maturity." Because some of you don't realize the devil doesn't always destroy love with betrayal. Sometimes he destroys it with overreaction, with assumptions, with impulsive texts, with emotional explosions, with fear disguised as intuition. And I'm not saying ignore red flags. I'm saying don't create red flags out of wounds. Now here's something nobody teaches you about soulmates. But you test them differently. You test them by watching their consistency. You test them by watching their character. You test them by watching how they treat people who can't do anything for them. You test them by watching whether they respect your boundaries without guilt-tripping you. And I want you to remember this. A soulmate will never require you to betray yourself. So if someone is making you feel anxious every day, if someone is constantly confusing you, if someone disappears and reappears like a ghost, if someone makes you feel like you have to earn basic respect, that's not your soulmate. That's your attachment wound being activated. If you need to hear that, comment, "I choose peace over chaos." Now let's go into a key phrase that I want you to say out loud, because your words carry power, and your heart listens to your mouth. Say this: "I am not afraid of love." The comments break. I am not afraid of love. Because some of you are acting like you want love, but your nervous system is terrified of it. And your soulmate can feel that. They can feel when you're guarded. They can feel when you're suspicious. They can feel when you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So they test your heart to see if you're safe to love. Now here's your second Bible verse for this message. And it's not long, but it's powerful. Love is patient. 1 Corinthians 13:4. And I want you to sit with that. Because patience is not just waiting. Patience is how you behave while you wait. Do you stay loving? Do you stay grounded? Do you stay faithful to God? Do you stay emotionally clean? Or do you become controlling? Do you become reactive? Do you become bitter? Do you start sabotaging? Because if love is patient, then impatience is not love. Impatience is fear. And fear is the language of wounds. So if you've been feeling impatient, comment, "I release fear." Now, I'm going to speak to the one person who keeps asking, "Why would my soulmate test me? Why can't they just love me?" Here's why. Because they're not testing if you're lovable. They're testing if you're ready. And readiness is not about chemistry. Readiness is about character. It's about how you treat someone when you're triggered. It's about how you treat someone when you don't feel in control. It's about how you treat someone when you're scared. So if you want the big move, you have to become the kind of person who can handle the big move. If you're still here, comment, "I'm becoming ready." Because the person who is ready doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't threaten, doesn't manipulate. They love with peace. They speak with clarity. They stand with dignity. And that is irresistible to a soulmate. Now let me end with this, and I want you to really hear me. If your soulmate is testing your heart right now, it means they see something in you worth protecting. They see something in you worth choosing. They see something in you worth building with. And the moment you stop reacting from fear is the moment they stop hesitating. So comment one last phrase, "My heart is safe." Because your heart is safe when God is leading you. Your heart is safe when you stop chasing what is meant to come. Your heart is safe when you stop confusing anxiety with intuition. And your soulmate will feel that safety. They will feel your calm. They will feel your maturity. They will feel your peace. And then they will make the big move. If you're still watching, comment, "I'm passing the test." Because something is happening in the spirit right now, and I want you to understand it, not fear it. There's a moment right before a soulmate commits, where the energy gets quiet. Not dead, not gone, just quiet. Silence. They assume the connection is fading. But what's really happening is, your soulmate is making a decision. They're asking themselves, "Can I trust this person with my heart? Can I build with them without losing myself? Will they respect me when they're emotional? Will they stay consistent when life gets hard?" So if you felt a shift lately, comment, "They're deciding." Because yes, they are. Now I want to expose a deep psychological truth. A soulmate is not scared of love. They're scared of repeating pain. So when they test you, they're not testing your beauty. They're not testing your money. They're not testing your status. They're testing your emotional safety. Because emotional safety is the rarest thing in the world. And I need you to hear this. Some of you are good people, but you're not safe people. You love hard, but you don't love cleanliness. You love passionately, but you don't love peacefully. And a soulmate does not want intensity. They want stability. So if you're ready to love clean, comment, "I love with peace." Now here's a test your soulmate will do that looks small, but it reveals everything. They will tell you no about something. It might be a small no, like no to a date, no to a phone call, no to coming over, no to talking right now. And they will watch your reaction. Do you respect it, or do you take it personally? Do you honor their boundaries, or do you punish them emotionally? Because if you can't handle a small no, you will never handle the big moments. Marriage moments, family moments, financial stress moments, healthy moments, real life moments. So if you're learning to respect boundaries, comment, "I honor no." Now let me tell you something that will protect. When a soulmate is preparing to make a big move, They start protecting the connection. They stop flirting with other people. They stop entertaining distractions. They stop leaving doors open. They start moving like someone who is choosing. And you'll notice it. They become more intentional, more thoughtful, more present, more consistent. Not perfect, but different. If you've noticed them becoming more intentional, comment, "I see the shift." Now let's talk about the hardest part of this journey, because some of you are being tested in a way that feels unfair. You're doing the inner work. You're praying. You're staying calm. You're trying to be mature. You're trying not to overreact. And still, they haven't made the move yet. And you're asking, how long do I have to keep passing tests? Here's the answer. You don't pass tests for them. Tests for you. Because this is not just about them choosing you. This is about you becoming the version of yourself that can hold what you prayed for. If you understand that, comment, "This is for me." Because the biggest mistake people make, I think the soulmate journey is about romance. It's not. It's about transformation. It's about God taking your heart and making it strong enough to love without fear. Now here's a key phrase I want you to repeat, and I want you to type it in the comments too. I don't chase what God assigned to me. Type it. I don't chase what God assigned to me. Because chasing is the language of insecurity, but alignment is the language of faith. And when you walk in faith, the right person doesn't run. They recognize. Now here's a sign your soulmate is testing you before the big move. They watch how you handle attention. Attention. Because some people become toxic when they feel wanted. They start acting cold. They start playing games. They start trying to win the relationship. And a soulmate will not build with someone who becomes arrogant in love. So they test you. They show you affection. Then they pause and they watch. Do you stay humble? Do you stay kind? Do you stay consistent? Or do you start acting like you're above them now? If you're staying humble, comment, "I stay grounded." Now listen, this next part is going to help someone who's confused. Sometimes your soulmate tests you by triggering you, not on purpose, but because they touch the part of you that was never healed. Their love exposes your wounds. Their consistency exposes your fear. Their calm exposes your chaos, and your heart starts shaking. So you think the connection is wrong. Connection is revealing what needs to be healed. If you've been triggered lately, comment, "I'm healing, not losing." Because you're not losing them, you're losing old patterns. And that is a victory. Now here's the Bible verse for this part, and it's a line that speaks directly to the soul. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. And I want you to breathe when you hear that. Because some of you are trying to force beauty early. You're trying to rush the timing,